Ever wondered who and what is shaping Luxembourg? This is your Lux Unplugged podcast with your hosts, Adrien and Thierry.
Hi, I'm Adrien.
Hi, I'm Thierry. Welcome back to another episode of Lux Unplugged.
This time around, we welcome Márton Fülöp, Chief Innovation Officer at Docler Holding.
What did you learn from our conversation with Márton?
Well, I'd heard of Docler before, and this indirectly. They are well known for their first product, Jasmine.com.
As our listeners will hear, Docler is a holding company with a lot of businesses in their portfolio. Most notably, they are the creator of Techbull, sports equipment that is today promoted by globally known players such as Ronaldinho.
Who would have guessed this was all engineered in Luxembourg?
Very true. There are many secrets in Luxembourg, as it seems.
But now, without further ado, our conversation with Márton Fülöp, Chief Innovation Officer at Docler Holding. Márton, thanks for joining us here on the show.
Thank you very much.
Before we kick off our usual show, we would like to know a bit more about our guests that appear on our podcast. How would you introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be part of this initiative, and happy that there is such an initiative in Luxembourg. My name is Márton. I'm Chief Innovation Officer of Docler Holding. I've been with Docler Holding almost 10 years now. I was born in Belgrade, in Serbia. Then I spent my life, most of my career, most of my education in Hungary. I studied in Hungary. I studied IT engineering and specialized in cybernetics and robotics. I never really went to that direction in my career, but I think it was quite interesting and useful educational path. And then I started working as a software developer. That was my first job back in Hungary. Then moved more to management roles, project management, specifically in IT project management. I was driving digital transformation for one of the big, public state companies in Hungary. And then 10 years ago, I joined Docler as a project manager. Just applied for a job which I found on an advertisement, and this is how my career started at Docler. I was part of a small team. I would say that my journey in Docler was really interesting because I've been in quite a lot of different roles, and I think that's also what is interesting about our company. There is always room to evolve into certain directions where you want to be, and as the company evolves, my position have evolved into various roles. But I would say the groundbreaking part of my career in Docler was when we introduced agile methodologies. Currently I'm in charge of innovation, which means that I'm more or less a person whose job is to think forward, to think what will our company look like in a couple of years, technology-wise, but also culturally.
Was there a particular choice why you chose this career when you started out?
Originally, it was not my plan. I applied in Technical University of Budapest to be an architect, and I was even accepted in university. I was always passionate about computers. I had a computer when I was 10 years old. Maybe this passion for computer science can be turned into a profession, and that's why I made this choice to go to an IT.
Now going back to Docler, so the business you're involved in today, for our audience, how would you describe its activities?
Docler has an interesting story. It's not really describable in a simple manner. Docler currently is an international holding company which employs 1,300, 1,400 people, has around 70 companies in the group, highly diversified. But I would say the core of our company is low latency live streaming technology.
Am I right in thinking that the type of activity that you're involved in, is it comparable to a holding company like Berkshire Hathaway, like Warren Buffett's? You know, the way they operate and the way they expand. Is it like a fair comparison to make, or would you say that you're a bit different?
I would say we were different. It's as a company, we are usually our strategy when it comes to acquisitions or mergers or investments is not necessarily financially driven. Doesn't mean that we are not looking for return on investment, but what we are looking for as an investor is what are the ideas on the market that we could integrate in the value that we have created already. So we are never looking for startups come to us because we have initiated a couple of startup related projects here in Luxembourg, and but we are not a VC in that sense. We are not looking for an exit strategy when we invest in a startup. We are looking for what value can the startup create and how can we help them to grow, to create that value, and how can they be integrated in the group, become essential part of the group.
Okay. Was that always the plan of the company? Because obviously at the beginning, 10 years ago, it was
20 years
20
ago.
years ago, yeah.
I joined 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that has then obviously evolved over a period of time. What was the original idea behind the company then?
Yeah, original idea of the first product that was created was a low latency streaming platform, jasmine.com. I think it was just HU back then because our founder, Mr. Gotyan, and also our CEO, Karoy, who were there at the very beginning, they created this from idea of recreating as experience that they have seen on Big Brother show was a big thing back then in the TV. That was the first project that was created, a platform where streamers could broadcast and viewers could pay for the content that it's broadcasted. And then, I would say almost 10 years later, the company has started diversifying because the core product has grown so much that it enabled the management and the company to look around and to invest in other ideas. Yeah. Currently, as I said, from 5 people now it's around 1,500.
There's been a vision since the very start of this business. How do you make sure that this idea stays future-proof? How do you see the vision expanding going forward?
I don't believe you can make them future-proof, and I think the more you struggle making them future-proof, the more you waste time on executing them. We have the mindset of acting fast, delivering fast, trying things fast, failing fast, and reinventing ourselves, learning from mistakes. I think the more you evaluate, the more you spend time on trying to secure yourself how your product will look in the future, the more time you lose. We usually walk the talk. So we launch our products as soon as possible, and we evaluate them on the fly. One of the things that some of our developers are sometimes not complaining, but I would say they are a bit anxious about the fact that when the new feature is out, it goes out, and then we see how it's happening, even though we know that it might have a impact on the productivity of or it might even backfire, it might even crash the system. Of course, we have systems to prevent that technology-wise, but still we are quite brave when it comes to experimenting with new things.
But that allows you then obviously as well, if something isn't working, to just remove it quickly again and work on it and come up with another idea. Yeah. And is that the part then where innovation comes into place, where you have probably quite a big team where loads of different ideas come, but obviously only a small number of them come to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, innovation is, as I said, innovation is not purely technical at least not at not what I'm responsible for. I mean, there are multiple levels of innovation. Our CTO is also working. We have an R&D team, so we collaborate. I mean, you cannot centralize innovation in one person. It's like also we don't have a chief information officer either, because I don't think that this role exists anymore, because everyone needs to have a IT background, at least to a certain level in our company. So same thing with innovation. I mean, we are trying to foster innovation on multiple levels. So yeah, there is a lot of projects, garage projects within the company, but it's not only related to our core product. There are multiple projects that have been launched, tried, and if they didn't work out, then we reintegrated those people into core business. But there is always an opportunity for people to try something new. Techbull is the sports equipment that we have developed some years ago. Was an idea from one of our partners, and then he presented this idea to the owner, and Mr. Gotyan liked the idea. So now it's a totally independent. I mean, it's a business which is still part of the group, but runs under its own governance, and it's quite a success story.
Is that at the minute the project that you particularly testing or trialing that you believe will be like a big thing? Or
wow, we do believe I think it's already a big thing, given how many famous players are behind it. So I think Techbull is one of our, let's say, projects that we are really proud of, and of course it's a project that is still in a growth phase, because this is Techbull itself. I don't know how much you know about it. It's an invention. It's a project. It's a product. It's a sports equipment that you can play 5 different sports on. But the major sport is it's like a derivative of football, which you play on a equipment which is similar to a table tennis, but it's a bended table, which also can resist the weight of the ball, and there is a special technique to utilize to play this sport. There's also technology part of it, because there is a ongoing development of an application where you can evaluate the movement, and you can also compare yourself with some famous players, how you perform. So it's typically a kind of a merger of technology and sport. But the equipment itself, I think it's a nice thing, but the sport behind it, the activity behind it, is something that we really believe. It's the fastest recognized sport in the world, actually. It has presence in many countries. There has been 2-3 world championships so far. Our goal with Techbull is to become an Olympic sport. These are the things that we embrace, and what Docler is supporting, for example.
Okay, so why did Docler then choose Luxembourg, and has its ecosystem benefited the company so far?
Luxembourg was a choice, I would say, a bet. So we didn't know what we of course we did evaluation. We used some Big Four the consultancy to help us evaluate different jurisdictions. But at the end of the day, we choose Luxembourg because we felt it's a place where we can establish our international headquarters. And the most important aspect is that we wanted to create a international business, and it's a bit hard to do that from Hungary. Even though it's a great place, especially in terms of, for example, skilled IT professionals, it's much better than Luxembourg, for example. But still, in order to create a internationally recognized business, it was not a ground where you can grow as much as you can grow somewhere else. And this somewhere else for us was Luxembourg. Also, we did evaluation in terms of technology, because for us it's extremely important to have we have 3,000 servers here in Luxembourg. So, for example, we were looking for a place where we can have a companies which can host our servers, and which have connectivity with local hubs around in Europe. Also, is from low latency perspective, we were looking for a place which has good data centers, and I think Luxembourg is one of the best places. The biggest concentration of Tier 4 data centers here in the world is here. This is one of the best moves that, at least in my career, has happened for the company to establish the headquarters here, because we feel this is an environment which is really supportive of business development. So where you have a proximity between public and private sector, when you have society and jurisdictions and also regulations which are there to support your business and not to block your business. And I'm not saying that this is something unique in the world, but I think Luxembourg is ahead in a lot of countries in that sense to have a business enabler environment. And also what we like about Luxembourg is a bit like us, startup style. We are also started small and then grow big, and I think Luxembourg in that sense can be as agile as we are. So for example, when we see a lot of changes that has happened in last 5 years, and I don't think any country around has this kind of pace of evolution of environment like in Luxembourg. So to give you an example, a couple of years ago we were struggling to find IT people because most of the candidates were having an issue of moving to Luxembourg due to the language barrier. Most of the developers that we employ, they don't speak French, for example. And they had concerns, what will happen if for some reasons we don't work with Docler anymore, where we'll find a job because we don't speak French, we will not find a job. And it was the case actually 5 years ago. It was quite challenging for a software developer, no matter how qualified he was or she was, to find a job. That's not the case anymore, for example. That's totally acceptable nowadays for a software developer to find a job even without having a French language. So in general, I think Luxembourg, from my perspective, is a country that we might be behind in certain level, especially when it comes to digital compared to some other countries. But I believe Luxembourg has the possibility to be much faster than anyone else. So if there is a need of a change, the change can happen much faster than anywhere else. And I think that's totally in line with what we are.
But in your opinion, how do you manage, and it's Docler Holding in Luxembourg, how do you attract talent? That's the first question. And second, how do you think that Luxembourg as a whole, given the evolution of the economy, how can they improve the way that they can make the whole economy, the whole country more attractive to the skills, the level of skills that they are actually looking for to get to the next level?
Well, I think first you need to identify the issue, because I think we need to identify and face the issue that we are lacking talents. I think it's a common problem to admit that there is a problem. Usually even some companies feel like, yeah, we will solve this somehow, we will outsource it to other countries and we will find a solution without really need to bring people. But I think that's not a sustainable solution. So yeah, I think it comes with recognition of the issue is that we don't have talents, IT talents especially, and we don't have them in Luxembourg. So we need to go outside and to bring them here. And IT recruitment as such has become I would say, totally different profession nowadays compared to where it was a couple of years ago, 5 or 10 years ago. I don't think that it's even related to HR as such anymore. It's a more sales activity than HR. So, for example, if we would be back in Hungary, it would be hard to hire a German engineer to convince him to move to Hungary. In Luxembourg, it's a bit easier. It's not easy though either, but it's easier. I would say that Luxembourg is a really attractive to those candidates who are, 40 between 30 and 40 years old, who are establishing their families or plan to establish a family, because in that case we have a great selling point when it comes to attracting these people. And even in the case when we moved to Luxembourg in 2013, 2012, I had a discussion with all of our developers one by one, and we still managed to convince, let's say, 70, 60, maybe 70, 75% of the people to come with us to Luxembourg. Some of them decided to stay for whichever family-related reasons. And most of the people have chosen this in a mindset, okay, I will come to Luxembourg, I will come here, make enough money to buy a house in Budapest or I don't know, wherever in Hungary, and then we will go back with my family and move back there. These people are still here, and their kids are now 7, 8 years old, and they speak 3 languages that their parents don't understand. So now there's a bit of a challenge to drag them out of this environment and go back there. So actually those people who have, and I know so many people who have come to Luxembourg for a certain amount of time, and then we will go back. So they're all still here. And even those employees that we have hired here, especially software developers, who have left the company, they are still around, and this is, I think one of our good contributions to the society, to bring IT talents. If they are for some reason not working with us anymore, they're still on the market in Luxembourg.
Can you tell us a little bit about your social responsibility projects then?
Yeah, I think we are quite visible when it comes to social responsibility, and I think it's important to explain why we are doing this. I mean, and this comes mostly from our owner, Mr. Gotyan. We have achieved a lot in the course of last 20 years, and the company has become quite a success story. None of us forgets where we came from, and actually even him and many people on our board level come from really simple backgrounds. So we know what it means to lack things, to live in an environment where you are struggling, and our CSR activities have started long time ago. So this is nothing new to Docler in Luxembourg. We have started CSR back in Hungary. The moment the company became a bit more successful and made enough money, there were a lot of initiatives giving back to the society. I think a lot of companies should follow this activity, and not from PR perspective. I think it's important that to give back to the society that welcomed you. And I think we are extremely, I would say, thankful to be in Luxembourg, to be accepted in Luxembourg, to be where we are now. It was challenging in the beginning, but I think nowadays we can say that we feel welcome here. And I think for us it's really important to give back to the country that welcomed us, especially to those who are in need. Of course, we do CSR through charity organization. We also do other things like this party that we have created. And I think this is also really important. It also comes from the owner, because this is more of his way of thanking the Luxembourgish society, of welcoming here. And I think this party is I would say, has become a signature party, and I'm happy that people are talking about it. It's interesting because for a tech company in Silicon Valley, creating a party like this, it's kind of a non-event. It's an every weekend something like this. If Facebook or Google throws a party in Silicon Valley, it's a nice thing. People talk about it for 2 days and then disappears. We here are in a kind of a lucky situation, because when we create something like this, which I would say it's nothing special, but I believe it's special for this country, then it's all over the place, and people know about it. But as I said, this is explaining who we are and what we represent, and we personally like to party and we like to welcome people who are also like-minded like us.
To wrap up this conversation, You've spent a few years now in Luxembourg. I'm not sure if I should consider you as an expat or not anymore. But what are the things that you like the most about Luxembourg?
Well, I still consider myself as an expat. I don't know when is the time when you move to non-expat definition. But for me, Luxembourg was a big step forward, big change, in a sense, because I've lived in former Yugoslavia and Serbia, then I lived in Hungary, and Luxembourg for me was a big difference. So I would say it's a cultural change. Let's see, a couple of things that I really like about this country is the diversity of people that live here. If people ask me where's my home, I know it's now. Even though for me home is a bit tricky definition, because I've lived in many places, so I don't know. I always feel home where I feel most welcomed and most comfortable. And currently, that's Luxembourg. Might not be sometime in the future, but I think this is for now.
Márton, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. We look forward to having you back in the near future to talk about your further trial and errors on the project you'll be working on. But definitely appreciate the time you've spent with us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks
for listening to the LuxUnplugged podcast. Please share this podcast with friends and family and leave us a review on iTunes. Also, please don't forget to visit our website, luxunplugged.com. And see you next time.